Good morning. How are you guys today? Welcome to Bible class with Andre and Betty. We're continuing our studies from the book of 1 Samuel, and today we're in chapter 20. And in this chapter, we'll see an example of brotherly love. Now, brotherly love is much higher and more valuable than our love for our fellow man in the natural, our brothers and sisters, our biological or adopted brothers and sisters. This is the phileo love that God admonished us to share with other believers. And we'll see how David and Jonathan's relationship was being done under the leadership of God. And so our subject is an example of brotherly love. Verse 1. And David fled from Naioth in Ramah, and came and said before Jonathan, "What have I done? What is mine iniquity? And what is my sin before thy father, that he seeketh my life?" So Saul is still chasing down David to kill him, and David knows this. Verse 2. And he said, Jonathan said unto him, "God forbid, let it never be. Thou shalt not die," talking to David. "You shall not die. Behold, my father will do nothing, either great or small, but that he will show it me. He will not do anything without telling me first. And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so. He'll tell me the truth about what his intentions are." And David sware, verse 3, and David sware moreover, and said, "Thy father certainly knoweth that I have found grace in thine eyes." And he said, this is Saul saying, "Let not Jonathan know this." So your father is just not telling you the truth, lest he be grieved. But truly, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is but a step between me and death. And that step between life and death is Jesus. If it were not for Jesus, we could not have eternal life. Verse 4. Then said Jonathan unto David, "Whatsoever thy soul desireth, I will even do it for thee." Verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, "Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the third day at even or at evening." So now they're making a covenant between the two of them, and they're setting up a plan by which David will be able to escape the hand of Saul. So he says in verse 6, this is David speaking, "If thy father at all miss me, then say, David earnestly asks," then I want you to say that David earnestly asks leave of me, that he might run to Bethlehem his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. So I'm going to go and hide myself. And you come after the third day at evening and tell me what your father said and what he's going to do. Verse 7, if he say thus, this is David speaking to Jonathan, if the king say thus, it is well, thy servant shall have peace. But if he be very wroth, then be sure that evil is determined by him. Verse 8, therefore thou shalt deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of the Lord with thee. Notwithstanding, if there be in me iniquity, slay me yourself. For why should you bring me to your father? If there's something evil in me, then you kill me yourself. Verse 9, and Jonathan said, far be it from thee. For if I knew certainly that evil were determined by my father to come upon thee, then would not I tell thee? We're brothers. We're making a covenant between us and the Lord. Then said David in verse 10 to Jonathan, who shall tell me what your father is going to do? Or what if thy father answer thee roughly? So now they're setting up signals for the message from Saul will be made known to David. Verse 11, and Jonathan said unto David, come, and let us go out in the field. And they went out, both of them, into the field. Verse 12, and Jonathan said unto David, now he's talking to David, but he's talking to the Lord at the same time. O Lord God of Israel, when I have sounded my father about tomorrow any time, or the third day, and behold, if there be good toward David, and I then send not unto thee and show it to thee. He says in verse 13, the Lord do so and much more to Jonathan. Now when he says, when I have sounded out my father, he's saying, after I have spoken to my father and found out what he's thinking, then I'm going to send the message to you and show you. I'm going to read verse 13 again. The Lord do so and much more to Jonathan. But if it please my father to do you evil, then I will show it thee and send thee away, that thou mayest go in peace. And the Lord be with thee as he had been with my father. Verse 14. And thou shalt not only while yet I live show me kindness, show the kindness of the Lord, that I die not. Verse 15, but also thou shalt not cut off thy kindness from my house forever. No, not when David had cut off the enemies of David, every one, from the face of the earth. And he's talking about his son Mephibosheth that we'll study in the later next book, I believe, First Kings. But Jonathan is not only making a covenant for David to be with David while they live, but he's thinking of his children that will come after him. And that's showing fidelity as a father, looking out for his children for generations to come. Verse 16. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, let the Lord even require it at the hand of David's enemies. Verse 17. And Jonathan caused David to swear again to affirm the covenant because he loved him. For he loved him as he loved his own soul. They loved each other. And this is the kind of love that we are to have with each other in the Christian family. Verse 18, then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. Verse 19, and when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand. Talking about their discussion about how to plan to find out what Saul wanted to do with David. So when the business was in hand, and shall remain by the stone Ezel, verse 20, and I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark or a target. Verse 21, and behold, I will send a lad, saying, go find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them, then come thou. For there is peace to thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. So this is the signal. I'm going to call this young boy, and I'm going to shoot arrows. And if I say the arrows are on this side of me, then that's a signal that you can come back to Saul's palace, because there is peace from my father. But, verse 22, if I say thus unto the young man, behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, David, for the Lord has sent thee away. Look at the communication between Jonathan and David. It's always based on what they believe about the Lord. Verse 23. And as touching the matter which thou and I have spoken of, behold, the Lord be between thee and me forever. Verse 24. So David hid himself in the field. And when the new moon was come, the king set him down. He sat down to eat food. 25. And the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, he seated his father, and Abner sat by Saul's side. Abner is his general in the army. And Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Verse 26, nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. Now, every time I've read in the Bible where somebody think or suppose something, they were wrong. So our thoughts are not his thoughts, neither is his thought our thought. We have to learn to allow our thoughts to become like his thoughts. Verse 27. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the 2nd day of the month, that David's place was empty. Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today? Verse 28, and Jonathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem. This is what they had discussed, Jonathan and David. Verse 29, and David said, let me go, I pray thee, for our family hath a sacrifice in the city, and my brother, he had commanded me to be there. And now, if I have found favor in thine eyes, let me get away, I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore, he cometh not unto the king's table. Now, he's just telling Saul what he and David had discussed and the reason why David was not there for supper on the new moon. Verse 30. Now we'll see Saul's anger come up because of this. Verse 30. Then Saul's anger was kindled or stirred against Jonathan. Now he's not only angry with David, now he's angry with Jonathan for letting him not get away and not be at the table. And he said unto him, thou son of the perverse, rebellious woman, talking about his Jonathan's mother, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion and unto the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? He does not think very much of Jonathan's mother. Verse 31. For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die. And so he's looking to have a dynasty, one son after the other, to hold the seat of authority. Verse 32. And Jonathan answered Saul his father and said unto him, wherefore shall he be slain? What has he done? And Saul cast a javelin at him, at Jonathan, to smite him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. Verse 34. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger and did eat no meat the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David because his father had done him shame. It's a shame that he's after David, who has done nothing, but because of jealousy, he never dealt with it. Verse 35. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. Verse 36. And he said unto the lad, run, find out now the arrows which I shoot. And as the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. Verse 37, and when the lad was come to the place of the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried after the lad and said, is not the arrow beyond thee? Verse 38. And Jonathan cried after the lad, make speed, haste, stay not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. Verse 39, but the lad knew not anything. Only Jonathan and David knew the matter. Verse 40, and Jonathan gave his artillery unto his lad, and said unto him, go, carry them to the city. Verse 41. And as soon as the lad was gone, David arose out of the place toward the south and fell on his face to the ground and bowed himself 3 times. That's an act of respect. And they kissed one another and wept with another, and wept one with another until David exceeded, or until David gained control. Verse 42. And Jonathan said to David, go in peace, for as much as we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. So this act of brotherly love is what we're to share with each other. And this is an example of what brotherly love looks like. And so that's our lesson for today. And we will see you next time, next week. You all have a great day and a great week. Bye.